Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're hopping back into Pokemon Showdown to do a little bit of team building today. Yes, we're doing some team building. It's been a while since we've done one of these. That's because we've been spending a lot of time doing our collaboration series, and hopefully you've been enjoying that, where we've been able to bring in a guest to join me on the channel and showcase their team that they've been successful with. And usually these teams have, you know, one or two niche Pokemon that normally don't get a chance to shine, but in a restricted format, those kinds of Pokemon can do well. Hence the reason why I wanted to start that series, you know, for the past month or so. So hopefully you've been enjoying that. But what I want to do now for the next, I would say, week and a half or so is doing a little bit of team building for some lesser used, you know, lesser optimal restricteds, and starting here with Ho-Oh. Because, you know, I figured, look, the NAIC is come and gone. You know, the next real big event is, of course, World Championships. So now's as good of an era to, now is as good as a time as ever. There we go. I said it right. Where we can look at some lesser used restricteds and do a little bit of team building, right? But just because, you know, these are some of our old favorites, but they don't really get any playtime, or very rarely. But I did want to pick a select few that I felt like were at least viable, that can still, you know, get you some cool wins while still, you know, being strong overall, right? And today I want to do Ho-Oh. So Ho-Oh is one of those Pokemon in terms of a restricted legendary that probably does much better in a dual restricted format where you can pick two of them. And for good reason, obviously. You know, when it's your only restricted, it's a little bit underwhelming. But that being said, you can do stuff with Sacred Fire and Brave Bird. This is going to be good against like a lot of grass types, you know, namely Amoongus, the Ogerpons, the Rillabooms. And then Sacred Fire is really good into the steel types and also like really annoying physical attackers. You know, just imagine stuff like Zamazenta or even Zacian for that matter. But you know, the fire flying typing is actually pretty good against a couple restricteds in general. Like you can sit in front of stuff like Koraidon, and you can sit in front of stuff like Zamazenta, and, you know, not really have to worry too much about it, just because you can resist fire moves, and then at the same time you resist fighting moves altogether. And that's really good if you can just wall out two very common restricteds in itself. So there's some viability here with Ho-Oh, that being said. And then at the same time, look at this bulk here in terms of special defense. 154 special defense, 106 HP. So, you know, imagine like Calyrex-Ice Rider here. I'm sorry, Calyrex Shadow Rider just trying to click Astral Barrage. It just doesn't do that much. And then if they have Draining Kiss now, which most of them do, that the fairy move doesn't do a lot because you're a fire type. So you can actually sit in front of the Shadow Rider and not really care a whole lot. You can just chip away with Sacred Fires and Brave Birds here. And then if you are able to boost yourself, which we can show you how, then the Shadow Rider just doesn't really matter altogether, right? So Ho-Oh's got quite a bit going for it. The only things that you have to worry about is stuff like Urshifu-Rapid Strike, and of course something like Miraidon, because again, Miraidon being a Dragon Electric type, you know, you're not going to be doing a whole lot with your fire and flying type attacks, so you have to be aware of that. That being said, you can always Terra Grass in front of it, and then do a little bit of chip slowly in front of it, but you're gonna need some help from your partners to, you know, help you handle Miraidon. And then of course you need something for Kyogre, right? Now again, Kyogre not in the top 5, but, you know, still within the something like the top 8 in terms of like restricted usage. So you do have to respect Kyogre a little bit, and you want to have some answers to it. But overall, I think from what I've seen and from my research, you know, looking at successful Ho-Oh teams thus far, the two best partners for it right now is something like this with Ting-Lu and Raaging Bolt, okay? Because now what you're able to do is with Ting-Lu, okay, with ground dark typing, you have your matchup against Miraidon and the Shadow Rider, right? Which is really, really good. And then Raaging Bolt helps you against the Kyogre matchup a little bit, right? Because you're an electric dragon type, you can wall out the water moves, the water spout, and then at the same time, you have Thunderclap to really pin it down and not really have it do as much damage as it needs to. It's either forced to click the ice move or it's forced to Terra Grass, right? You know, to avoid getting hit by this. But if it Terra Grasses, then you create this pin now where Ho-Oh can come in and do big damage against a grass type Kyogre, which is really, really good. But I do think these two are going to be really good for it. And again, Raaging Bolt also creates this pin against the Urshifu-Rapid Strike, where now if it wants to click Surging Strikes into Ho-Oh, it's not going to get a chance because we have the Thunderclap pin, right? So now just in terms of like how do you want to support Ho-Oh for the rest of the team. Now in terms of like the rest of its 2 move slots here, by the way, I do think Clear Amulet is best, but in terms of like what you want to do here, I think Protect is always going to be best on Ho-Oh here. And then from here, you have the option for a recovery move, or you have the option for speed control in Tailwind. So if you want recovery, then you can go with Recover, or you can go with Life Dew. I've tested both, pros and cons to both, but they both do the job, okay? And then at the same time, you can also go for Tailwind, where you have some speed control for your team, which means the rest of your team is going to have some, you know, faster options. But, you know, just the fact that Ho can outspeed certain threats and, you know, create the Sacred Fire burn scenarios can be really, really good for it, right? But I'm going to show you what other people have done and where the success has come from Ho-Oh. So this way you can kind of see where we can create our team from there. But, you know, the research is important, right? So let's go ahead and let's go into Lab Mouse and let's look at some of these successful teams thus far with Ho-Oh. All right, so now we're back into the Lab Mouse website here, and we've been able to filter out the Ho-Oh teams here, and we're going to look at some common ideas. So this way we can kind of, you know, take with what we want and how we want to build, and then from there, round out the squad. So let's look at this team from Zane Thatcher. So 7-7 from LAIC. So that means day 2, which is actually really, really impressive for Ho-Oh. But obviously day 2 didn't go so well because, you know, Ho-Oh just as a restricted can't really match up with some of the other top 4, top 5. But hey, day 2 Ho-Oh it's actually pretty good. So let's take a look at things here. Zane's team over here. So there's the Ting-Lu idea like we mentioned, and there's the Raging Bolt. So there we go. So we have the common core right there. Then he's going with other stuff like Urshifu and Amoongus, and it's Urshifu coaching, which I like a lot because now what you're able to do is make your Ho-Oh unbreakable to an extent, right? Because now you're giving it attack and defense boost, and then you partner it with Ting-Lu, which reduces special attack damage all in all. So now Ho-Oh becomes unbreakable almost, and then you can click recover, you know, if you're taking damage over time. And don't forget, you have Regenerator, and so does Amoongus, right? So you have this double swap potential with Ho-Oh and Amoongus, just getting health back and fighting for reposition, which is really, really good, right? And then at the same time, look at this. You have Volt Switch, you have U-Turn over here on the Urshifu, and then the Rillaboom also has U-Turn. So what this means is you have 3 pivot options. So now what you can do is get Ho-Oh back on the field with recovery in terms of health in the same turn. So imagine this. You have Ho-Oh plus maybe Raging Bolt on the field at the same time. You switch out Ho-Oh for something else, Raging Bolt goes for Volt Switch, get Ho-Oh back in, and now Ho-Oh has more HP than what it started with at the beginning of the turn, right? So that's really, really good. And you can do that same play with U-Turn, you know, from both Urshifu and Rillaboom here, right? Which is really, really good. And then at the same time here, like we said, Rillaboom and Raging Bolt, they're going to help you a lot in terms of Kyogre and Miraidon matchups, which is, you know, 2 of the biggest weaknesses for Ho-Oh itself. And then at the same time, you have the Ting-Lu matchup here for more Miraidon stuff, and especially the Calyrex Shadow Rider matchup, right? And then Amoongus, you're going to want to bring this against the Ice Rider stuff, where, you know, if they want to click Trick Room, you can obviously Spore it. And then from there, Ho-Oh can kind of give you a lot of Sacred Fire damage pressure against the Ice Rider itself, right? So I like this team a lot. So shout outs to Zane. I keep saying Thane, but, you know, it's Zane Thatcher. But shout outs to Zane here for a really, really cool Ho-Oh team. I like this a lot. And I do like the Raging Bolt Ting-Lu idea. Again, that's what we like as well. So we might just take the Urshifu coaching idea, but let's see what other people have come up with here. So Silver Wolf over here has used this team in 2 tournaments here. So this is also pretty cool. Again, the same idea with Raging Bolt and Ting-Lu. So that makes a lot of sense. But then if you look at this, now, let me just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. But here, look at this. This is Torkoal Eject Pack, right? And that's pretty cool because now what you're able to do is you can bring out Ho-Oh in the sun. And this is what I mean by Ho-Oh being really good in a dual restricted format. Imagine Ho-Oh with Koraidon here. That's going to be really good because now Koraidon can benefit Ho-Oh in terms of bringing out the sun, right? And then at the same time, look, you've got healing potential here with Life Dew, which is actually really, really good. But what this allows you to do with Torkoal here is you can click Overheat, switch out because of the Eject Pack, and then go into Chien-Pao here. And then now Ho-Oh is in position next turn to do even more damage because you have the Chien-Pao on the field. So Ho-Oh Chien-Pao is also another idea that you can consider. But again, we already know what Raging Bolt and Ting-Lu can do. This is an Assault Vest Ting-Lu, by the way. And then this is Goggles Raging Bolt. So this helps you get around Amoongus. but it's Runation, Stomping Tantrum, Snarl, Heavy Sand, very standard Ting-Lu set. Then you have Flutter Mane here, which benefits from the sun all in all. Like, you have 2 Pokemon here with Raging Bolt and Flutter that enjoyed the sun from Torkoal, so this makes a lot of sense. You have some speed control with Icy Wind over here, so that's pretty good. And then again, more damage mitigation with Snarl, which is really important here. And then Chien-Pao here. Interesting enough, it's Icicle Crash, but not Ice Spinner. I feel like Spinner would be pretty good here, just because, you know, you can blow up terrain from Miraidon, for example, or even like Indeedee. But, you know, the flinch chance is also pretty cool in itself. But I like this idea. I think this is a pretty cool team, especially with Torkoal here, with the eject pack stuff, just making Ho do more damage. And then at the same time, enabling the Raging Bolt and even the Flutter Mane option over here, just in general here. So I like this a lot. So shout outs to Silverwolf for coming up with that idea. Then we go into this stuff here. So I've seen a couple of screen Ho-Oh teams with Toxapex here. So let's take a look at that. Let's see this first one here from Brendan Moses from also LAIC, the LA Regionals. Okay, so Ho-Oh screens here, and this is Terra Blast, Terra Ground. That's pretty cool. So again, this is your Miraidon counter, right? You just go Terra Ground and just hit it with Terra Blast. The same way why Zacian would go Terra Ground and hit that with Terra Blast as well, but like what we did with Grant's team. So there's that idea. Then you run screens here, and that's good, right? Because then you take minimal damage, you switch this out with Regenerator, and then you get more health back than what you started with in the beginning tier, right? Which makes a lot of sense. So I like this, and it looks like this person wants to play this slow game, right? So look, you've got double fake out pressure, you've got screen support, you got parting shot as well. So, you know, you can switch out the Ho, go for parting shot, and then bring it back in the next turn like that. But here's the Toxapex idea behind screens. You've got your Wide Guard user, which is good for Ho, of course. Then you've got Toxic and Infestation. So things are going to be, you know, getting chipped over time. And then here's the recover idea. So, you know, they're in it for the long haul here for Brendan Moses over here. So I like this a lot. This is pretty cool too. So lots of interesting ideas that you can use with Ho-Oh here. But what about the other one? The other one was down here. I think it was a similar team. This is Mental Syndrome here. I know you had the Lapras over there, but I think it's more or less the same idea. Yeah, it looks like the same team. Double fake out pressure, screens, Grimmsnarl, Flutter Mane over here. Perish Song. Okay, Perish Song, Flutter Mane, but it is the Terra Blast, Terra Ground idea. So that's also pretty cool. Then you look at some others, like more standard stuff. How about this one, right? 5-4. I know it's not super great, but, you know, there's still some ideas that you can take out of this. Like, again, here's the Ting-Lu Raaging Bolt idea that I mentioned. There's the Chien-Pao as well. And then you have Rillaboom over here. So Chien-Pao Rillaboom is also pretty strong here, along with Ho-Oh. Then you've got the Araquanid here for your water type with Wide Guard potential. So again, there's that, and then of course Liquidation and Leaf Life, very standard set here. Safety Goggles, ignoring Amoongus all in all. But I do like this idea as well. You know, again, Ho with the Wide Guard user is also pretty good. That's going to really help you into like Kyogre matchups, right? Because Kyogre is bringing out the rain, which means Araquanid is going to bring the pain in the rain, which is kind of cool. And then at the same time, you kind of just Wide Guard, and then Kyogre can't really click water moves. It has to go for the suboptimal Thunder / Ice Beam, which Ho can take relatively well because of its special, defense bulk. So consider that much, but I do like some of these ideas as well, right? So that's pretty cool. Then over here, there's the Mienshao stuff over here. So you can already imagine that there's going to be coaching here, right? And there is. So we saw coaching from Urshifu, but you can also do coaching Mienshao. And then at the same time, you get Fake Out and Wide Guard to go with the coaching stuff, which is something that Urshifu can't give you. And then, of course, the raw close combat here, which can just one-shot instance if you ever need to. It's also really good into Terrapagos at the same time. But, you know, you can coach the Ho-Oh, make this your big-time sweeper in the late game, ideally. Then you have Tailwind Whimsicott here, so Ho-Oh is going to be pretty fast as well. That's also pretty good with Goldengo, especially Terra Normal. Now the Shadow Rider can't really hit this thing, so that's pretty good as well. Then it's just Taunt, Runation, Snarl, Ting-Lu. I like this a lot. And then here's Wellspring Ogerpon. So again, Wellspring, pretty good for Kyogre stuff, right? So that's going to be your matchup there, as opposed to stuff like Rillaboom and Raging Bolt. The Wellspring Ogerpon can also redirect the Urshifu Surging Strike stuff, so you have that going for you. But again, Mienshao Ho-Oh is also another combination that you can also consider, when things come down to it, right? Then over here, this one, I know it's 4-5, not super great, but still the King Gambit idea is also pretty good. along with the coaching from the Chien-Pao. So again, you can coach the Rillaboom, you can coach the Ho-Oh here, like we already mentioned, and then Amoongus, the double Regenerator boys with Amoongus Ho is also pretty good here. But again, you can, like King Gambit with coaching boost is going to do a lot of damage with Sucker Punch, Black Glasses, and then the Kowtow Cleave here. So that's also really, really nice. Again, some interesting ideas here. But now what I also want to show you is just a few other teams that have also, that with rental codes that have also used Ho-Oh to, you know, success as well. Okay, so this rental right here, I'm not sure if this is still active, you know, because this was back in like late April, but this is Atalanta's team here, and a lot of the concepts are still the same and still apply even now. So like we said, Raaging Bolt and Ting-Lu are very, very common here. You know, here's the rental if you want to take it, but I can show you the EV spreads here. So this is what it looks like. You have the Ho-Oh here, right? And then at the same time, here's the Assault Vest Raaging Bolt, and here's the Rocky Helmet Ting-Lu. So it's Protect, Taunt, Ruination, Snarl here with the Rocky Helmet. Double Snarl idea here from Raaging Bolt and Ting-Lu. Then, like we said, here's the Amoongus. But then you have Rillaboom and Urshifu single strike as opposed to rapid strike. So, you know, lots of good answers for both Calyrex in my opinion, right? Because Urshifu does great into any of them. And then at the same time, look, you've got special attack damage reduction coming from the Ting-Lu. Rillaboom is great at removing terrain, you know, for the Indeedee Miraidon stuff, for example. And then at the same time, you know, just like Tailwind Ho-Oh here is actually pretty interesting, and it makes a lot of sense just in terms of like what you have here, especially with the Urshifu and then the Rillaboom itself. And then look at the Ting-Lu, 148 speed is actually pretty cool, you know, on this kind of set with Ho-Oh here, because now what you're able to do is outspeed stuff like Chi-Yu and then, you know, just go for a Snarl on it, and then or even like a Ruination and outspeed it. Now this also it takes into account that the Chi-Yu is not scarfed, but if it isn't, you're able to outspeed it and go for that key move here that you know you need to do against a base 100 Pokemon here. But I like this a lot. This is also pretty good. But again, some of the similar cores here. This got 3rd place in the ladder tour, so I know it does work. And look at the bulk here. So it's Adamant 76 here with max HP. So this is the first benchmark here. But I like this a lot. This makes a lot of sense. Then over here, a little bit more recent, right? From late May, almost or the beginning of June. We have Jalen over here making another cool Ho-Oh team here. Here's the rental if you want to take it down, of course. But again, he's also got the Ting-Lu here, but along with the Raaging Bolt. But he's also got some other interesting options here. How about Bronzong here, right? I think Bronzong makes sense on this team a lot, just because, you know, you've got Trick Room here, but not only that, Iron Defense Body Press. So that's going to be great into stuff like Terapagos. And then Gyro Ball is really good against stuff like, you know, the Ice Rider, because, you know, you're clicking a Steel move into an Ice move, into an Ice Pokemon, I should say. And then here's the Chien-Pao stuff. Again, going for coaching, you know, you can coach the Ho-Oh here. You can coach the Ogerpon Wellspring here. So this is also pretty good. Again, we've seen this earlier from some of the other teams, but Ogerpon Wellspring pairs really well with Ho-Oh here. Just redirect the Urshifu attacks. Also good into Kyogre. So if you can coach the Ogerpon here and you Terra this, so now you're getting a special defense boost. Now you can get an attack and a defense boost. So now all of a sudden the Ogerpon Wellspring becomes the sweeper of the team, which is really good in its essence, right? So then here, look at the synergy here with Ting-Lu. This is Earthquake Ting-Lu, and it's an attacking Ting-Lu, right? Which is, again, going to benefit from coaching here. But, you know, Earthquake Ting-Lu next to Ho, next to Bronzong, really, really good. Great synergy there, all in all. Because now look at this. The Bronzong can also be unbreakable. Because, look, you're going for all these defense boosts. Then you partner Ting-Lu here. And now special attack damages just aren't doing as much. So the Bronzong also becomes unbreakable. So this is actually really, really good. And then here, Raaging Bolt just comes in for like matchup specific things. But Raaging Bolt Magnet is going to do so much damage with Thunderclap and Thunderbolt, right? So you have another good special attacker here. But I like this team a lot from Jalen, right? Ho-Oh coaching is actually really, really good, especially coming from Chien-Pao here. I respect this a lot. So shout out to Jalen. Then over here, Arima just recently got like, I don't know, I think it was like top 500 here with this team. But, oh wait, no, I clicked the link there, but I meant to click, all right, well, here's the rental, but here's the paste. So basically it's Grimmsnarl Comfey. Okay, double fairy idea. So you're going to keep the Ho healthy here. But here's the Ogerpon Wellspring again. But we have double fire with Incineroar here, right? So parting shot stuff from the Incin. along with Parting Shot here from the Grimmsnarl. So double Parting Shot. That means you have good pivot potential with the Ho-Oh. Again, the idea of swapping it out for something, and then, you know, going for a Parting Shot with either Grimmsnarl or Incineroar allows you to bring the Ho-Oh back in with more health on the same turn. And then this is Ting-Lu Sandtomb stuff with Fissure. Okay, this is kind of crazy, all right? So I don't know about this one, but again, you know, I'm not going to argue the results. You know, top 500 on ladder is pretty good, you know, at the end of a season, you know, end of May. So I do like this a lot. But yeah, hopefully some of these teams that we've shown you have given you different ideas on what to use with Ho-Oh. But I think it's come down to a general consensus that we are going to use Ting-Lu and Raaging Bolt with our Ho-Oh here. And then from there, we're going to round out the other 3 slots based on how we want to build it. All right, so let's go back into Showdown and let's finish off our team. Okay, so here we are. We're back into the Showdown team builder here. So like I said, we are going to use these 2 pieces. I think the research and the data shows that the Ho-Oh is best successful when it's paired with these 2 guys. I do like coaching. I think coaching makes a lot of sense with Ho-Oh, especially when you have so much special defense bulk and you're partnered with Ting-Lu. To really make Ho-Oh quote-unquote unbreakable, we're going to need a little bit more defense here. So I think coaching makes a lot of sense, but where is it going to come from? Do we want Mienshao or do we want the Urshifu? I think we're going to go with the Urshifu here. So that means we're going to go with the Choice Scarf coaching set here, which is good, right? In my opinion, I think this is the way to go. And then what you're able to do now is if you want to coach the Ho-Oh, we also need at least maybe 1 more coaching target. So how about adding the Chien-Pao here? I think Chien-Pao also makes sense here because now what you can do is a lot of things. So if you have Ice Spinner, you can blow up Miraidon's terrain. You can actually blow up Miraidon, period, because of the Ice Spinner. Then at the same time, you know, the Indeedee stuff, you can, you know, blow that up as well. But Chien-Pao with Sucker Punch Pressure just also gives you a good Shadow Rider matchup because if you can coach the Chien-Pao, then, you know, if the Shadow Rider does have any kind of bulk, then you can just remove it immediately, especially with your Ho-Oh, right? So that's the whole idea with this. But, you know, Chien-Pao, Ursh, those are always going to be like a good solid combination in essence anyway. But, you know, just the fact that you can coach 2 targets, whether it be the Ho-Oh or the Chien-Pao, is really, really good. Then for your Trick Room matchup, I think you just go Amoongus here. I think Ting-Lu Amoongus is always going to be very, very solid. And this is how I want to build the team here. So I do like this 6, especially with coaching Urshifu, because now if we just look at our matchups here, so our Ho-Oh gives us our Koraidon and Zamazenta matchup, right? The Ting-Lu gives us the Shadow Rider and the Miraidon matchup, which is nice. The Amoongus can also give us the something to play in Trick Room and gives us some leverage into the Ice Rider matchup. By the way, if they want to go for Trick Room turn 1 with their Ice Rider, you can simply just go like coaching Ho-Oh turn 1, and then next turn you have Sacred Fire +1, okay? And you force them to go Terra Water, and then you create this pin where now they have to, you know, suffer at the hands of the Raaging Bolt, which is really, really good because then you could just Thunderclap them, and then they would have already taken so much shit that Thunderclap can just potentially KO them, right? And that's what it's all about. Like, you're creating pins by forcing Terras that are not favorable against your partner Pokemon, right? Which is really, really good because look, again, if Kyogre wants to Terra against the Raaging Bolt, if it goes Terra Grass, now you're susceptible to the Chien-Pao Ice attack and the Ho-Oh Fire type attack, right? Same thing, you know, with the Ice Rider, vice versa. If the Ice Rider wants to, you know, Terra Water, if, you know, in front of the Ho-Oh, that's fine, because then you just win with the Raaging Bolt later on, especially if you can stall out Trick Room. And then if it's Terra Water, you Spore it anyway. And if it's Grass Terra, even better, because, you know, Ho-Oh can just beat that very easily, right? So there's the idea there. But anyway, then again, you have like Chien-Pao stuff, again, to help you along with Ting-Lu Raaging Bolt against those Miraidon stuff. And then Chien-Pao at the same time, you know, with the Focus Sash here, you know, can just take 1 attack here and just do big damage overall, like Sacred Sword as well. So now that's going to be pretty good along with Urshifu into stuff like Terrapagos. So just consider that much. So you have a little bit of everything for very specific matchups, right? Which is really, really good, right? Because that's what you want. You want like at least something for at least the most common restricteds. And that's what's going to give you your best chance to win. You don't want to have nothing for something that's super common, because then you just lose to that matchup, right? But at least we have something for everything, right? So how do we want to round out this team? So in the end, because we have Urshifu, Chien-Pao here, And then we can make a little bit of speed on this Raging Bolt. I do want Tailwind here. Okay, so this way we can get some speed control at the, you know, in either early game or even late game stuff. This Ting-Lu here, so you have to decide where you want the Assault Vest here. Do you want it here or do you want it here? I think the Raging Bolt should get the Assault Vest here. Okay, and then the Ting-Lu, we're going to put the Rocky Helmet on this guy. Okay, and the set that we want, I still want Stomping Tantrum. So this way, if I have to coach the Ting-Lu, I can go for Stomping Tantrum. But I think Ruination for big chip damage is good, along with Snarl potential. And then just simple Protect here with Terra Poison. I think this is like okay for what we want our Ting-Lu to do. Then the Amoongus, very standard stuff. We can just go Terra Water here, you know, and then just go, oh, don't forget to change a Regenerator. Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, Protect. Very standard Amoongus set. You can go Berry here, but I think just going Mental here is just going to make sense because you already have the Rocky Helmet on the Ting-Lu here. Now, as an alternative, you can go Leftovers here, right, for a little bit more recovery on the Ting-Lu, and then go Rocky Helmet here. I think this also makes sense too. In fact, you know what? I will leave it like that. You know, you can do Leftovers here and then Rocky Helmet here. Otherwise, you can go Rocky Helmet here and then Mental Herb over here, right? So you can consider it that way. But we'll leave it like this for now. Okay, I think both items are very good. Here we go. So Thunderclap. How about let's go. Okay, how about this? Look, we need a couple pivot options here. So we're gonna go U-turn, of course, here, right? So this is what I want to do. Surging Strikes, close combat, of course, right? Then we have U-turn. How about the Raging Bolt have Volt Switch here? I think this is gonna be a good pivot move here. Because again, like I said, I do like the idea of, you know, just either U-turning or Volt Switching the same turn that we switch out the Ho-Oh to get more attack and bring it back in a better position the following turn with more health back. I think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll do it like that. So here we go. So, you know, Thunderclap, Volt Switch, then we'll just go Draco. I think Draco just makes sense here. Where is that? Draco Meteor. And then how about Electro Web? Just a little bit more speed control. So like you have Tailwind and you have E-Webs. That's pretty good. That's going to help against the Tailwind Mirror. And then you still have the Choice Scarf here. And then you have Amoongus and Ting-Lu stuff for your triple matchup. So I like that a lot. The Urshifu here, like we said, is coaching here with U-turns. So that's pretty good. How about the Raging Bolt Terra? I think we can stay electric. I think this is okay. If you want, you can go Terra Fairy here. But I do think, like, look, you've got 3 electric moves. Might as well just stay electric. I think this is okay. Ursh here. I do like Terra Ghost here just because if they want to fake out the Ursh, they can't really do that. In the past, I did like, you know, Water and Grass, but I've been doing a lot more Terra Ghost with the Urshifu lately just because I don't want to get faked out on this thing because they might think, oh, he's Scarf. You can just fake this out, you know, because you can't protect. But if you go Terra Ghost, you go Coaching here, and that's going to be good, you know, for your Ho-Oh and your Chien-Pao stuff. So I like that. Then here we go. Chien-Pao, again, also Terra Ghost. Makes a lot of sense. Then just simple Protect here. Okay, but this is it. This is the team. I like this 6 for what it can do. And you can see, like, it's pretty viable in essence. So now all we're going to do now is just, you know, create some EV spreads here and then test it out a little bit and see how it does. All right, so we'll start with Ho-Oh here. So basically, I also want to keep in mind Regenerator here, but I want to pick a speed tier that I feel comfortable here. So how about 126? I think this is okay for what we want Ho-Oh to do because, again, after an E-Webs, if you just do a little bit of math, 126 with that 1.5 multiplier, 189, that's going to outspeed the Adamant Chien-Paos. That's going to outspeed the Modest Flutter Mains. Which is really good, and then also Miraidon, right? If they are modest, so that's good. But we do need that E-Webs off first. But I think taking into account that is important. Then over here, we obviously are gonna go Adamant Nature, all right, because we want that damage. And at first, I want to go the second benchmark here, 156 investment. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to get better at, you know, competitive Pokemon and T-building in general, make sure you comment what are EV bumps, because this is one of the most fundamental things to understand in terms of making EV spreads for Pokemon. And if you don't know what they are, you should know what they are. All right, so comment below what are EV bumps and I will explain it to you. I will reply to you. All right, but here's the second EV bump here, 187. Okay, but I do want the nice even number from the coaching boost, so I'm actually just gonna go 1 point more, beep, and then get it to 188 over there. All right, now we take into account Regenerator. I want to pick a nice solid divisible number of a third, right? Because that's what Ho-Oh recovers, you know, after you switch it out. So what's a nice optimum number here? Let's go to 204 investments, right? Getting it to 207, because if you do a little bit of math, right? Here's my little trusty calculator. 207, all right, with the multiplier 1 divided by 3, the third. All right, funny enough, all right, it will be a perfect 69 recovery for HP, all right, which is really good, because now look, if you have 208, right, that's like 69, this is like a decimal, all right, and then if you go 206, same thing, it's just below it, right, and then it just rounds down. Why would you recover less HP than what you want? So better make it a perfect number for a third of your factor with Regenerator, and in this case, it is 69 HP recovery per turn. All right, then after that, 1 point in special defense is all you need. Okay, and then I did want to make a nice even number for the defense, you know, for the coaching boost. So I just put 12 points there in defense. And that's it. That's our Ho-Oh spread, right? So optimal HP for the Regenerator, you know, speed tier to outspeed the modest and the animate base 135s like Miraidon, Chien-Pao, and Fluttermane. And then the benchmark here, the second bump with the attack nature, right? But going 1 point more for the even number for the coaching boost, which is what we did here with the defense. And then, yeah, 1 point left over in special defense. That's it, all right? Chien-Pao, very standard, 252 set. Now, what I want to do here with Chien-Pao, actually, is make it jolly here. So this way we can outspeed the adamant ones this time. And if I have Urshifu Chien-Pao at the same time, look, I can coach my Chien-Pao here. So now it's going to be fast because it's jolly, and it's going to hit harder because of the coaching boost, right? So I like that. But that's the easy one, all right? Urshifu, also very easy. I do like Adamant max speed just because you can outspeed the Shadow Rider. And then from there, how about second bump again for the attack nature, a little bit of defense, and then just dump the rest into special defense like this, right? And that's really all you want your Urshifu to do. If you want a little bit more, obviously you could do something like this, where you can just put the rest into attack, you know, just because you have no rain, you have no Pelipper, so get a little bit more out of your attack investment. You can do that as well, and it makes a lot of sense. But you know, do with it with what you will in terms of the bulk. Raaging Bolt here to Amoongus and Ting-Lu are left. So with Amoongus, the main calc that I like for it is just being able to survive Glacial Lance from Calyrex or an Ice Spinner from Chien-Pao. And the way to do that is to go Relax Nature, where you again aim for this optimal number for your Regenerator, just like what we did with Ho-Oh. Okay, a little bit of math. 219 is that number there, and then of course the benchmark here, the bump at 236 investment here, the third bump. All right, and then the rest just goes into special defense here, right? This is our same Amoongus spread that we used in all of our rentals back at the beginning of June, right? So same thing, might as well just recycle it. And then you're just left with, you know, the Ting-Lu and the Raaging Bolt here. So I did like that idea with the Ting-Lu outspeeding base 100s under Tailwind. I think that's a pretty good X factor that we can capitalize here. So I still will make it bulky. I'll still go to like the first bump here, but let's make it this much. You know, just again, if we have to coach, I do want at least an even number there. Let's go 204 investment. Again, 256 for our leftovers recovery, because again, if you just do a little bit of math, 256 divided by 16, it's going to give you 16 perfectly. So 16 HP recovery is what you're going to be getting with your Ting-Lu if you have the leftovers here. Just 1 point in the attack. We don't really need Ting-Lu to do like big damage here. It's really just here to support Ho-Oh and click Snarl and click Ruination every now and then. But 148 speed investment, you know, again, 84. So, you know, under Tailwind is going to be 168. That's going to outspeed the Chi, which is what we want here, and other base 100s in general. And then just dump the rest here into special defense here, right? You have the Snarl, you have the Vessel of Ruin. This is all you really need from Ting-Lu. I just think it's okay in terms of what we wanted to do, right? And then we got all these. Yeah, I think the Raaging Bolt is just the only one that's left here. So very easy. We can go Modest Nature here. Again, 124, you know, just for the photosynthesis boost if we do have to play it in the sun. Again, 1 point in special defense, even number, you know, to optimize the assault vest. And then what I want to do is I want to play it a little bit faster. I want to go 132 here. So this way, under Tailwind, we outspeed the Shadow Rider, which is important there if we ever have to click, you know, a Draco Meteor to one-shot it, you know, or maybe not even one-shot it. Just get off a key attack to be able to win. or Volt Switch for that matter. But anyway, you know, under Tailwind, we do outspeed it, so that's good. Then you just go for like these other optimal benchmark numbers. 224 for Rillaboom recovery if we do play against a Rillaboom. I don't know what Rillabooms want to come into like Ho-Oh games, but if they need it for Ting-Lu, so be it. Then the rest just goes into defense here, and you can still lift some of the attacks from another Chien-Pao, especially if it's Jolly, right? So you got some bulk here, but that's pretty much it, right? So again, we're just aiming for like basic benchmarks, basic EV bumps here, a couple of speed tiers we're taking into account, but this is like a pretty standard solid Ho-Oh team, right? You got a little bit of everything for the matchups that you needed for, okay? Sometimes you might not even bring Ho-Oh. Sometimes straight up Urshifu, Chien-Pao, and Raaging Bolt with one of these can just carry you, and that's good enough, right? But, you know, the fact that you can coach the Ho-Oh here and go for Tailwind is going to be good, because then you can just outspeed next turn and then just start going for these Sacred Fires that are going to hit hard. Bringing Chien-Pao here also going to be pretty good. But I do like with what we built with Ho-Oh based on what we've seen from teams that have used Ho-Oh recently. All right, so let's go ahead and test it. Let's see what we can do with Ho-Oh. All right, perfect. This is a good Zamazenta game, right, where they have pretty standard stuff, especially like, you know, Flutter Mane, Raaging Bolt here. Those are expected partners, but this is a little bit of a balanced Zamazenta stuff. You know, it's not like the ones I normally see, but, you know, it's still got Zamazenta +5 broken Pokemon. So we'll play it out. But basically, Ho-Oh's got a great matchup into Zamazenta here. It's also got a pretty good matchup into Rillaboom and Chien-Pao over there. So Ho-Oh looking pretty good here. The only thing you got to watch out for is the Raaging Bolt, but that's why you have the Chien-Pao here. And from there, it's just all about bringing the Urshifu at the right moment to go for the coaching stuff. And we'll probably have to Terra Ghost this one. I don't think we need to Terra the Ho-Oh here, but we'll see how our opponent decides to play this here. But he's going with Instant and Raaging Bolt. So that's not great for Ho-Oh because there is a Raaging Bolt, but I did bring the Amoongus for this reason, just in case if he did bring the Raaging Bolt turn 1 here. So I kind of want to just try and Spore it, but he doesn't fall for it. He just goes straight for Calm Mind. He's not scared of the Ho-Oh here. Why would he be? So I'm going to have to reposition with the Chien-Pao here. I'm going to try and Spore the Raaging Bolt, but he just simply doubles up with the Dragon Pulse and the Flare Blitz. So my Amoongus literally did nothing. It came in and you know, died in 2 turns, but that's okay. So now we're going to go for a pretty cool play here, because now we're going to go for the Terra Ghost. He went for Thunderclap, right? This is why I did this. So we're going to go Coach into the Chien-Pao here. We're going to Ice Spinner it, remove the Rillaboom terrain, and that's it. Chien-Pao got coached, all right? He got the Intimidate drop, but we still have the defense boost. So now we go for the Terra Ghost, okay? And now we're going to coach our Chien-Pao here. So now we're +2 defense. We got our +1 attack. Okay, which is good. So he parting shots the Ursh, that's fine, because we don't really care. Urshifu did the job. Here's the Zamazenta, okay? I'm going to go back into Ho-Oh here, okay? And he goes back into Instant to remove my coach boost. And I kind of knew he would do that, but I just want to protect and scout turn 1. He goes for the Iron Defense, which is totally fine, because now I can go back into Urshifu just in case he got greedy. And he did, which is great, because now I'm in a good position now to either Surging Strikes or coach the Ho-Oh, right? So he goes Protect. Good play there. I'm surprised he did that. I could have just Surging Strikes the Urshifu there, but I'm sorry, the Incineroar. But in essence, yeah. So he knocks off my Clear Amulet, so now he can quote-unquote Parting Shot it. I'm just going to boost up the Ho-Oh here, just try and wall out the Zamazenta. He keeps going for Iron Defense, but now here's the Sacred Fire, and we get the burn that we need, and that was already good damage, right? So now he Parting Shots the Ho-Oh. He goes into Rillaboom, but that doesn't do anything because now I'm just great against your Rillaboom now. Okay, so he can fake out something, but he didn't even go for it. So, you know, what was the reason? I don't know. Body Press does nothing. We blow up the Rillaboom, and that's all she wrote. I could have even Brave Birded just in case if he wanted to swap out into Instant again, just to, you know, call it. But he didn't go for it, and it didn't really matter in the long run. So now my Ho is back to +2. Ho-Oh +3 defense. Zamazenta +4 defense. Doesn't matter. Sacred Fire doing a whole lot here. He goes for the knockoff to try and kill the Urshifu. Doesn't matter. Okay, at this point, he's lost so much, and he's behind so much that we just end up winning this. Because all he can do is just protect Zam, but that doesn't matter. It's not a threat anymore. I just want to remove the Instant and just, you know, double up the Zam next turn. He has the Citrus, but again, it doesn't matter. because we just go for the Brave Bird and remove it immediately, right? So, you know, the benefit of coaching from the Urshifu making Ho unbreakable was really, really good, right? And he has no choice but to forfeit here, right? So again, Zamazenta, good restricted, but against Ho-Oh, not so good. Okay, that's a pretty weird Miraidon team here. I understand the Thunderous stuff, of course, you know, the Discharge, Volt Absorb. He's got the Landers there, obviously, you know, good discharge target. And then he's got the Fake Out Bros. I don't know about the double terrain here with the Rillaboom included, but he does have the single target Urshifu, right? So that's fine, but this is a really good game for Chien-Pao. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 things weak to ice, so that's very favorable for me. Okay, and then at the same time, Ting-Lu looks really good, you know, for the Miraidon endgame here. So Ting-Lu Chien-Pao is my lead here for something like this, especially if it's Miraidon here. I can blow up the terrain right here, right now. He does have a defense boost on Thunder, so that makes me want to like just hit that thing and not have to worry about Miraidon later. There is a Volt Switch on the Chien-Pao, which is unfortunate, and he goes into Landers here, so he can remove the Chien-Pao if he wants, but he ends up going for the Ting-Lu here, and I think that's a mistake, right? Because now we just remove him, you know, and at the time I was Rocky Helmet Ting-Lu, so I was testing that out for a bit, but he goes into Instant here, he intimidates my Chien-Pao. But I know for a fact that, you know, an Ice Spinner will blow up the Landers, even though I am -1 just because it's 4 times weak. So I do miss the Ruination, but that's okay, because what ends up happening is my Stomping Tantrum, you know, is just going to do, you know, good damage next turn. So Chien-Pao does die, but again, how does he beat the Ting-Lu? Now, I have been chipped, okay, but Miraidon does bring back the Electric Terrain for me, which is kind of good. Okay, so he actually just goes for Draco Meteor, which is fine for me, because now Ho can be okay in this sense, because now this Miraidon is -2 and he's locked into Draco here because I believe he specs. So Instant just goes down here and Ting-Lu kind of just walls out the Miraidon here, and then I can just go Terra Grass just in case he wasn't. But you know, the fact that he is just means I just win the game, right? Because he has nothing for this. So Sacred Fire, good damage to Miraidon here. Stomping Tantrum, even though I am intimidated, just doesn't matter. He removes the Ting-Lu here, but all I have to do is just, you know, click a simple Sacred Fire and we clean up here. So Chien-Pao and Ting-Lu were doing the job here. Okay, we have another one of those weird teams. Again, a weird Kyogre team. I understand a lot of these pieces, you know, maybe the Moltres, again, for Hurricane, Dark typing for the Calyrex, fast Basculegion in the range for Swift Swim damage, you know, of course, you're another physical water type. Then there's Raging Bolt and Thunderous. Why they're here, I don't know. But again, another game where like Chien-Pao looks really good into literally everything here except the Kyogre, right? But that's okay, because we can play around it. We have our Raging Bolt for that. And Ho can actually just be like almost like a supporting cast here a little bit. But Urshifu Chien-Pao looks really good. Okay, he has Moltres, he has Gudra. Again, very good targets for Chien-Pao. I just want to boost my Chien-Pao to smithereens and just blow up this Moltres, and that's exactly what I did. I could have even Terra Ghosted the Chien-Pao because he was going for Body Press, and then we would have just won right off of that. But here's Basculegion. I know Aqua Jet is coming, so I want to just go into Raging Bolt here and protect Chien-Pao at least this turn. And he did go for the Aqua Jet. And this was also to cover for the Kyogre switch in if you wanted to do that as well. But I'm going to go into Urshifu here to resist the Aqua Jet and to at least try and do some decent chip damage into the Basculegion. Slow it down a little bit, just in case he did go for the Kyogre switch now, but he didn't. He's just going to keep the Gudra in, he's just going to keep his mons healthy, and he's going to save the Kyogre later. But he goes into Kyogre now, which is a mistake, because I Surging Strikes that slot, you know, and then I also Volt Switch that slot, right? So I thought this would KO, it didn't, it almost did. Kyogre's almost done, but I'm going to go into Ho-Oh now, because again, I'm going to resist Body Press. So I'm fine with this. The Kyogre protects in front of Urshifu, that's just really not what you want to do. And then Ho, all I'm going to try and do is just try and get a Sacred Fire burn on this Gudra. Not even trying to deal big damage. I just need a burn to offset its leftovers recovery here, which is what he has. So I'm going to be trying several times here, but I'm going to go into Raging Bolt here. And I'm going to go Terra Grass Ho just in case the Basculegion wants to go for the Ho slot here. But really, I just need to remove the Basculegion. And now it's basically a 4-on-1 into the Gudra. And all I need to do is chip this enough to the point where Sacred Sword from Chien-Pao just wins the game here. So I'm just going to slowly chip it down, trying to get a burn. Okay, I don't get a burn, but I have chipped it. Body Press is doing enough into Raging Bolt. And now this is the turn where I'm just going to go straight hard Draco, because I know Raging Bolt's shelf life has run its course. Right, he's going to kill me next turn if he decides to body press it. But he's just going for shelter plays. He's giving Raging Bolt more time here. But if he's going to do that, I'm just going to reset it. And, you know, just keep chipping away at this Goodra. The rain is gone. Okay, Life Dew does heal it. But I do have Close Combat to my disposal. Which I do go for here to, you know, keep it respectable range of Sacred Sword. More Sacred Fire damage. I do finally get the burn. And that's really all I need now. Because Chien-Pao just wins this game right here, right now, because he's within range. These defense boosts don't matter, right? So, you know, Sacred Sword just pretty much just cleans up the Goodra here. So all we had to do was, you know, use our pieces, remove Kyogre, right, with Raging Bolt slash, you know, Urshifu. Urshifu's Surging Strikes in rain does a lot to Kyogre. I don't know if you guys know that. And then once we did, it was over. We weren't really worried about the Goodra. Just preserve the win con, which was the Chien-Pao Sacred Sword. Chip the Goodra enough to the point where we had the play of Sacred Sword to finish the job. All right, folks, so there's the team one more time. So, you know, we got to showcase a lot of the pieces here. So, again, you got to see the coaching stuff, which, again, is very valuable, you know, for Chien-Pao and Ho-Oh here. And then, you know, Amoongus and or Ting-Lu are going to come in very specific matchups. But Raging Bolt is also quite good for just repositioning purposes and also a little bit of speed control with Electro Web. But all in all, you know, Ho-Oh, not the greatest restricted by itself, but at least on a team like this, it is viable, and at least you have, you know, things to use in different matchups depending on what they are. All right, if this is something you need help with, right? If you're trying to build your own regulationG team and you just don't know where to go or how to start or how to make EV spreads like this, make sure you sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one Discord call with me. You can find the link in the video description below. And even in the comment section, there is a pinned comment where you can click that same link and join the channel with that tier 3 sub. And then from there, we can build you a squad for whatever it is you need it for. And then we take it from there. All right. So that'll do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.